Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I've got an interesting video for you. We're gonna make a Berlin techno style track just by using Push 2. And the cool thing is I prepared some files that I'm gonna use. And you can grab this file for free, the link in the description. This way you can basically create the track with your Push 2 in the same time than me. So I'm using Ableton Live 11 for this project, but if you're using Live 10, you can still grab the file and do it. I've put some Live 10 files as well, and 98% of the project is with the device that you can find in Live 10, so it's not a problem. Just only thing is like the final project that I finished created that I will put as well in the file. You're not gonna be able to open it because I'm using Ableton Live 11. But if you follow the video with me and create everything from scratch with me, you will have this exactly same project than people with Live 11. So the idea is to play a little bit with Push, trying to give you some tips maybe here and there with the Push 2, some music production tips as well, sound design. Alright, so before to start, I talk about the file. So you see here in the audio direct Push 2 meet Berlin Techno, you have two files, Live 10, Live 11. And if you go in Live 11, so you have some drum rack samples. So this I'm gonna come back to it in a second, but that's all the drum sample I use with the drum selector. And then I put some default preset because, for example, I'm gonna use delay, echo, and reverb, and I have default preset that are different than in the Ableton Live default version. So which means that when I'm gonna load a echo or delay, what I will have was gonna be different than if you load a delay or echo, like it's gonna be slightly different. So I've put the preset this way you can load them, and I've put some of the rack I've used as well for the video. So this way you have everything, you don't need to download anything, and you're ready to go. I recommend to put the folder into the Place, so this way you can have a direct access with the Push. So I'm gonna use my raw techno sample pack, and I have something I put always in all of my sample pack. It's what I call a sample selector. I'm gonna load it, and basically it's a drum rack with all of the sample from the sample pack. And you have, for example, the kick here, hat, other hat, clap, snare, ride, tom, and percussion. And if you check in Ableton, you can see basically, for example, the kick drum, there is this special rack I made where I can basically select different kind of kick with this macro. So I can go through all of my kick from the sample pack, all of the hats. If I go to hats, I can do the same. I have different hats, and so it's an easy way where I can pick up a sample, and you can see I've applied other macros such as pitch, decay, sample start, low pass filter, pan, volume. So this way I can, with the Push, easily select a sample, modify it, and program it in no time. So if you don't have the sample pack, it's fine because I've put the drum selector as well into the file, and it's an empty one, so you don't have any sample in it. But what you can do is you can load the sample I've provided you. So you can go to kick, and you go click on zone, and here you can drop your kick, and now you have the right kick drum. So then the only difference is down on the sample selector, you just keep to 0. You don't need to do the same. That's what I'm gonna do. And then you have to do the same with the closed hat, open hat, and so on. So this way you have the same sample than me. But yeah, once we've done that, we are equal now, and we're gonna program the kick drum. So I like, when I program drum, to click on layout until I have the 16 velocity matrix here, so which allow me to have different velocity, and I can program them on the step sequencer here. So for the kick, I'm gonna go with something like this, classic 4/2 floor. Just gonna change the tap tempo to 135, and then I'm gonna change the kick that I want to use. So you can So I'm gonna use this one, and I'm just gonna have a longer decay, maybe reduce a bit the volume. Yeah, that's pretty much for the kick. So for the close hat, I'm gonna go with this one, quite noisy one, and I'm gonna put it in solo. And usually with the close hat, I will do, you have different kind of classic pattern. You can either do like the classic 16 like this, or you can as well do like one on the one weak on the beat and one strong. You have this kind of, or you can even go like like this. For this track, I wanted to try something different. So I've used a strong one here and then a weaker one on the rest. So it's kind of a classic 16th cloud hi-hat, except that you have the strong one here. So just wanted to try something different, have something different. One thing I haven't done for this track, but a tip I can give you, which is nice with push, step parameter. So which means that you can, for example, reduce the GK and decide the one off bit to be like with the GK more open, to add a bit more groove. So what you have to hold the step you want and you clip and then again device, and then you can decide to be open, and maybe you can do like, let's try this one. And then you get something a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna keep it like this. You get something a little bit more interesting. Okay, once you've done that, we're gonna add a bit of effects. So inside the rack, you have two racks here, you can see here. One is with some delay that it's rack I've made. I will put it in the description if you wanna find out more the video where I explain, but it's basically 4 different delay that I've designed especially for hats, when I can add some dry wet amount with the macro here. So I'm gonna use the delay 4. Add a bit of movement and stereo, and then I have another rack here which can enhance your hat, but here I've just used it to add a bit of reverb. Alright, and that's it for our close hi-hat. Now let's move into our open hat. Here we're gonna change the sample. Go at 50 and then pitch down 3 semitone. And here again, I didn't want it to do the classic offbeat open hats. I wanted to try something different. So what I've done is I've chosen this velocity and I've mapped like this. So let me actually play. And I add one like this as well. And just to have something a little bit different. Reduce the GK to make it shorter. And then again, I'm gonna add some effect. So this time I use delay 1. Delay 2. It just adds some movement a little bit and then a bit of reverb. And now alright, interesting hats. Now I didn't put any clap or snare, but you can totally do it. And let's move into the ride. So for the ride this time in terms of pattern, I've been like classic offbeat for this one, and I'm gonna solo it. And I change to 77 and I pitch it up this way. Maybe longer decay. Maybe I'm gonna reduce the volume a little bit. This depends as well. Okay, and then I have had some effect as well with the 2 same racks, so I have some amp here just to make things a bit more noisier. You see, and a bit of reverb. And yeah, let me maybe reduce the volume. Now I have the tom, but I'm gonna talk about it after because it's more like the bassline as used as the tom. So I have another perc that I've kind of used like a metallic percussion, almost like a ride. So (105, 104), kind of metallic sound. Pitch it down 1 semitone. Bring the GK a little bit longer. And here I have another effect rack, which is called Industrial Synth FX. And I'm gonna use it to add a bit of saturation, bit of fuzz, and then some delay and some reverb. What you can do as well is pitch it with the pitch or the ring. Make it sound almost like a ride. And here I'm just gonna do a classic with offbeat strong and the one on the beat a bit lighter, so Right, and that's pretty much it for our drum. So now we have a tom, but I use the tom as the bass line. So I'm gonna use this velocity and I'm gonna bring this way in order to have a pattern like. And if you listen with the kick. Alright, so now we're gonna change the tom to 23. And what I wanna do is to low pass it a little bit first to tom beat that. So then after it's a matter of taste, but don't be shy to even go like. Alright, so I still feel like it's missing a little bit of movement, and the cool thing is that this rack, I haven't used it yet, but you have as well some return. So if you click on mix, let me open here, and I'm gonna go to the tom here, and you can see I have different sends. So the G send, the return G, it's kind of a delay reverb FX, but I'm gonna use it to add movement to my tom. So I'm just clicking here, and if I just slow the tom and I add a bit of. Now you get something which is moving a little bit more compared to and then with the rest. Reduce a little bit the volume. This one is a bit louder. Alright, and that's pretty much it for our drums, and I'm still feel like for the bass we can add something extra, so I'm just gonna close this. This is our drum, it's now all done sorted. I'm just gonna mute all of the drum except the kick and the tom. Otherwise it's gonna get very noisy and annoying for the rest of the track. And so we're gonna add our bass. So we're gonna use wavetable. So I'm gonna add a track, MIDI track, I'm gonna go to instrument and then use wavetable, track loaded, and I need to be in G because that's the scale of the track, and then I need to go down until G2. Let me go to layout actually. Here I have G2, and the pattern is similar to what we've done with the tom, but a little bit different, and we're gonna go something like up. So right now the length of the pattern is too long, so we're gonna go to clip, and you can reduce the loop length here, and you can go until 1, but here you cannot go more, it's too short, and I want half of that, so I have to press shift, and then you can go until 0.2, which is 2-bit, and this way now it's just gonna play. Alright, Alright, so that doesn't sound like a bass, I agree. And here to create the bass, I've used something different than usual, and you can use a sine wave to create your bass, sub-E kind of stuff. Here I use the technique of a resonant filter. It wasn't meant at first, but I was just experimenting. So let's just change first the wavetable. I've been to Formant, and I choose Real Voice. I brought the position to 83. Let me play it. And then add some modern FM, and I put the warp at 64. And then I left the fold how it is. So now we go to filter, and you want to bring it down to don't hear at 20 Hz. You don't hear anything. Put 24 dB low pass filter. You can use the MS21, I like it. Bring down the drive to the maximum. So far you don't hear anything. It's normal. I'm gonna crank up the resonance to 101. And now you don't hear anything, but we're gonna modulate the filter and the resonance, and you're gonna start to hear things. So in order to do that, we're gonna have here the frequency, and you can see you have add to matrix that just lighten. So you need to move this little one to activate that. Add to matrix, and now you can modulate the filter with any of the envelope of LFO. And I'm gonna use the amplitude envelope. And I'm gonna use until 31, and I wanna modulate as well the resonance, so I'll do the same. I'll just touch the macro to have add to matrix. And here the same, I'm gonna. So now you start to have something interesting, but it's not that yet. And I'm gonna modify the envelope first, no attack, bring down the GK, the sustain, sorry, bring down the GK as well. And it needs a bit of body, so I'm gonna change the slope of the envelope. So go like here, slope, and then the GK you're gonna go to until almost 0, -2. And now you got something a little bit more with body, and I shake things a little bit more. And one thing I forgot to do with the MIDI, it's basically the length of this one is 2-step, and the length of this one as well is 2 steps, so you can do that. Don't forget to press clip, and you have access to that. And now you have something a bit more interesting. And now if you play with the kick, you can maybe reduce the volume. So yeah, now with our drums as well. Alright, cool, we have a solid bass now. We're gonna add some more percussion, and I'm gonna use one of my racks to create that, but I'm gonna use a synth rack, and I'm gonna do add track, and I'm gonna go to my collection and synth, and it's the Crater synth rack. Then in terms of MIDI pattern, it goes like this. So I'm gonna, here the length of the clip is too long again, so clip, and you can shorten it, and again you have to press shift if you wanna go to just 2 beats. Alright, go to device. So now we can start tweak our sounds. So I'm gonna bring the waveform at 0, back 100%. I don't need the LFO. Filter around 260, you're gonna understand because we're gonna apply an envelope. We want crazy resonance to get this kind of tom effect. A little bit seems I did on the one before. And the amp around that, and then we can go on the second page. And we can reduce the weird, but add some plug. Alright, so now we have a nice percussing synth, but we're gonna add some effect to make it even more interesting. So I'm gonna first add a delay. So I go to delay, and I load. And so there is some changement with the delay. First, we don't want the both channel to be chained, so I'm just gonna go to left and change to 2 and the right at 3. Then you can play with the filter, having more in the low frequency. Bring down the feedback. 30%. One thing you need to do to go to time and remove the ping pong. So it adds a bit of movement. Now next things I want to do is add the frequency shifter. So that's gonna add a weird effect, and I'm gonna use the frequency shifter into, not in the frequency, but into a ring modulation, and I'm gonna go around 90 Hz. Then you can experiment with, that's really up to you, but I love frequency shifter to experiment and get weird tone. And then finally I'm just gonna add a bit of reverb. So I'm gonna load Ableton Reverb and just add a bit more decay. Alright, so now that might sound weird, but you're gonna see into the mix with the rest. I'm gonna bring it down and I'm gonna bring it up as yeah, that's our first percussion. Second percussion, we're gonna add a track and we're gonna use wavetable to again create some weird noisy percussion. So wavetable oscillator, and we're gonna choose filter and we're gonna pick up strip 3. So just let's go down 1 octave and we're gonna program it, and we're just gonna put it here. And again, the length is too long. So we go to clip and loop length. Yeah, this way is good actually. Alright, I want to change the position to 87. And we're gonna add a bit of warp and folding. So warp minus 16 and fold 85%. Alright, then we're gonna turn the sub on with the tone at 0% and again at minus 6. One thing I wanna do as well, I need to transpose minus 48 semitones because I need to go really down. Now let's go into the filter. And I'm gonna do something special, so 24 dB, and this time I'm gonna use a Morph filter. So if you're curious about Morph filter, I'm gonna have a video about Ableton Morph filter next week. So I'm not gonna go too much in detail, but I'm gonna break down the frequency. And you're not gonna hear anything, it's normal. Bring down the resonance. And the idea is to modulate the frequency and the morphing of the Morph filter in order to create something interesting. One thing first as well, I need to have the circuit in drive. Okay, so we're gonna first add the frequency to the matrix, and we can have something like this around 19, and we're gonna go to our morphing. So this is gonna change the type of filter, and we're gonna add to the matrix as well. And now we go to the envelope to kind of shape as well. No sustain. Alright, so now next things we finish with wavetable. We're gonna add saturator and we're gonna use the wave shaper. Saturator, load, and click here. And on type we're gonna put wave shaper, and then we can go in the way. We can add a bit of drive, and then we can go into the wave shaping section and start to play around with curve. Usually is nice, and we're gonna put the wave shaping depth to 100%, maybe the period around 36%. Gets nice things and then dump, and then I leave as it is. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna add some delay, add device, and I'm gonna use echo this time. And I'm gonna leave it as the default preset as it is. Add a bit of reverb. Having a longer decay time. And finally, I'm gonna filter everything. So I'm gonna use an auto filter rather than an EQ because it's easier and quicker here. I'm just gonna have to switch to high pass filter. And then maybe around 400. Maybe you can add a bit of drive. And then this one is just playing here. And now with the rest, I might need to Alright, so we have our drums, we have our percussion, we have our bass. Now let's jump into the lead. So for the lead, I'm gonna use operator. So add track, and I go to instrument and operator, and I'm gonna load it. So the sound itself is pretty basic. And here the idea of the sound is I'm gonna put in algorithm 11. This way you can have all different oscillator, and I'm gonna have just the A playing. But then I'm gonna use the oscillator B level and the oscillator C level to add some variation, to add some extra harmonics or texture during the track, make the sense evolve. So for oscillator A, I need a saw 4. We sound a bit like nasal like this. And I'm gonna find the tune until around 700, which is gonna be basically like kind of +9 semitone or +10, I don't remember, but and that's pretty much it. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set the other oscillator for later. So I have oscillator B. Here again I'm gonna choose saw 4, and again I'm gonna detune around 700. So it's important that you have a different value obviously than your oscillator A, because you kind of want to have this kind of detune. So 714. Here you cannot hear because the oscillator level is down. I'm gonna bring it and you don't really hear because they are both at the same octave. So I'm just gonna switch to course 2, and now you can hear they are different. And now I'm gonna play. I'm gonna be able to add some harmonics here, and I'm gonna do the same with oscillator C, except this time I'm not choosing saw 4 but saw 32. Same idea, detune around 700. Let me bring the level. One thing, oscillator envelope, you need to bring the sustain up. Forgot to do it for the B, but as well up, sustain, up. So here as well, we're gonna change the course. And we're gonna put at 3, so this way we have. So it doesn't really make sense now, but you're gonna see when we're gonna add effect, and I'm gonna play with, you're gonna understand how it adds variation to the sound. I'm gonna bring it down for now and go back to our more classic sound. And we're gonna program the melody. So we're gonna use just this. And it's something like this. So I'm gonna put it in solo. And the first note is here. And then the second note is. And then it go down here. And then this one go like this. Okay, so as you could hear, the volume was not that high, so I'm just gonna go to global and bring the volume maybe -10. I wanna add channel EQ this time. Reason being, it's kind of a low mid sound, but I still want to have a bit more presence in the mid high. So I'm gonna put the high pass on, bring down the low, -15 dB, bring 12 dB the mid, the frequency more around 260 Hz. You can see it's where things are happening. And then the high 10 dB, even though it doesn't make much, and then the output I'm gonna -5 dB. Just kind of again compensate. Alright, so now instead of having a more bassy sound, we have a more like a mid-high, a nasal sound. And we're gonna add some delay and reverb. So here again, audio effect, delay up. And here one thing, we're gonna change the time. And you can see it's making interesting things. And here again, I need to remove the ping pong, so I'll go to time. And give a nice movement, I really like it. Next thing, finally, we're gonna add some reverb. Bit longer, GK. And yeah, by default, now we need to record the automation I told you about, so I'm just gonna go to clip, and we need to double the loop at least 2 times. I would even recommend to double it even 1 more time, but for the sake of the video, to don't be too long the recording, I'm gonna just stay with 2. And then you go to your device operator, and you go to your oscillator, and you go to oscillator B, and now you're gonna hear what I mean. So that's how you're gonna add variation. So I'm just gonna click on automate and record. Maybe lay the first plane. Okay, now let's go to the C. Alright, and now we have our filter. Maybe the automation did a bit better and a bit longer, but you get the idea how you can modulate these 2 parameters with the filter as well in order to get a bit more variation. So then I wanted to add 2 sort of ambience, so like texture track. So I'm gonna add a track, and I'm gonna use one of my rack, which is called Ableton. Sound like this, but we're gonna filter it and kind of make it darker with another rack. So first let's set a little bit the rack. So So now we're gonna apply the rack that's gonna change everything, and it's my OddFX rack, which is basically nice to kind of create dark texture or any kind of weird FX or any kind of weird texture. You have the dark mode here, and you're gonna hear what it does. I can add some reverb. And I have ring modulation and frequency shifter as well that I can use to kind of get something completely different, and I'm gonna filter everything to make it feel more like ambience. So I'm gonna use the bandpass filter, bring down the resonance, maybe a bit of resonance. And yeah, that's pretty much it. After, if you want to add a bit of movement, you can slightly add a bit of LFO. It will slightly evolve. But yeah, put it there, but obviously the length of the clip needs to be at least that long. And the clip itself reduced to just 1 bar. So I've been to mix to reduce the volume. Alright, that's pretty much it for this ambience. So that was more like the noisy ambience, and now I wanted more like a crackling ambience like I like to do. So I'm gonna add a track, and I'm gonna use wavetable. I just like wavetable. The reason why I use that much wavetable is because it's very versatile. So sometimes I don't really know where to go, and if I want to experiment, I know that I can grab wavetable, and I have a lot of sonic possibility with the wavetable. So that's why I usually often use wavetable. So in terms of waveform, I'm gonna use the complex, kicked. I'm gonna go to position 100. And I'm gonna add some classic plus pulse width. And some sync as well. Alright, and I bring down an octave to have G-1 here. And now what you wanna do, I wanna filter that, so I'm gonna use a high pass filter. Maybe adding a bit of resonance. You really want the very top end because you already have a busy track. Maybe you can add a bit of drive. Now, usually with this kind of synth, I will be playing the same note, and to add variation and modulation, I will modulate, for example, the filter. So here, as usually, I hold the knob and I put add to matrix, and I'm going to now modulate it with the LFO this time. So LFO 1, a little bit like 19, and then I can go to LFO 1. You need to deactivate the retrigger because obviously you're gonna play a lot of notes. So if you leave the retrigger on, the LFO gonna retrigger every time you press a note, so the effect's not gonna work. You need to run continuously, but I'm gonna put it in sync, and I'm gonna have a very slow rate. 6 is fine. I'm gonna keep the. You can hear how it's filtered slowly. Alright, so now it sounds a bit dry, but later we're gonna add a bit of effects, it's gonna sound better. And then I say I'm gonna wanna modulate the sync. So again, here I have sync, and I can add to matrix. This time I'm gonna modulate with LFO2, and I'm gonna go all the way to 100%. And again, retrigger off for the same reason. I'm gonna put it in sync, sorry, and then I'm gonna want a slow rate, but I had 6 and I want 8, so like this it's gonna always having this shifting effect. The LA4 are not synchronized and they have different rates, so it's always evolving and changing. Alright, cool. Now let's add some movement with some delay. Cool, maybe add a bit more dry wet. But yeah, classic delay as my default preset, I like it. And I'm gonna add hybrid reverb. And I'm gonna add one of my presets which is called Med Clean. It's from the Tide algorithm. So there is no convolution implied. Alright, and that starts to sound interesting. So now one last device I want to add is Autopan, just to add a bit of variation left and right. 70% maybe. And beat, and I'm gonna put, actually I can put the rate and frequency and put something very slow, just to add a bit of variation left, right. And now in terms of MIDI patterns, so I will have something like maybe the matrix. So don't go too up. Yeah, like this is better. Okay. Alright, so we have all of our track, and I'm just gonna quickly rename it just to be a bit easier to follow what is what, otherwise they're all called MIDI, it's a bit annoying. Alright, that's much better. And before to jump into the arrangement, there was one last track I forget to talk about. So it's actually, I wanted to use an audio loop. So it's from my raw Techno sample pack, and I have included as well in the folder. So if you go there, you have this Perc loop here, and you can load it. And you need to play C3, so up, okay, and then here the length is gonna be like this, and the clip length halfway. All right, so when you add this Perc, kind of came to enhance Perc 1 and Perc 2, and it's gonna be for the second part of the track, so I'm just gonna rename this one as well. Alright, now let's talk about arrangement. And obviously with Push 2 you cannot do like proper deep arrangement, but at least to have 90% of the job done, and then after you will just have to do some little detail about transition, break, or some extra automation. So I'm gonna go down. So here I have all of my clips playing all playing in the same time. So basically what we're gonna do now, we're just gonna keep the first row as it is, and we're gonna start here a new idea. And I'm just gonna copy and paste clip I like. So you hold duplicate and you press the clip you wanna copy and paste. We're gonna start with the bass as well, with the Perc one and both ambience. And then we're gonna leave Perc 2, 3 and the lead for later on. So our first scene. Here we have a problem, obviously the drums, the clip, there is too many notes, so you need to make some choice. And I'm gonna keep everything except the two rides. So up, I get rid of that. And so now, so we saw the track with a pretty rich arrangement already, but that's fine. We can leave it evolve for a longer period of time this way. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna introduce our Perc 2 and our lead slowly straight away. So I'm gonna duplicate the scene. All right. And here, I'm just gonna add Perc 2 and the lead. So it goes from this. Obviously, you don't want your lead to start that high. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna bring the filter. We're not gonna do it now live. I'm not gonna record it, but eventually you will bring the filter slowly. Of the kick and the top. And now I want to start back again with exactly the same arrangement, but I need to add the ride. So again, I'm going to duplicate the scene, but I'm going to duplicate this clip here of the drum. I'm going to bring back the bass. Now I need to go in my drum to add the ride. So actually I need to duplicate this one. Here is, remember, is our full drum version. And I just need to remove this percussion here because I just want the ride to be added. So now when we go to our break, okay. So here we can duplicate and add the last percussion drums kind of feeling right as well. So duplicate, and actually I just need like to copy this clip here, which are full drum. Okay, so this way we go from this to extra drum. And then I feel we could do a break. So I'm gonna duplicate here this, not the bass actually, but the Perc. I'm gonna get rid of the second Perc a little bit. The lead, but the lead, and okay. Okay, here I need to copy this one here. And here we need to gonna reduce the filter. And then we're gonna go back more or less how it was. This one with the filter closed. Maybe a bit less drum. Yeah, maybe I remove the open hat and just leave the cloud I have. So I have a break here. You have to imagine that the lead you will have way much more modulation. You can add some SFX, reverb SFX as well. So now it's kind of sound a bit boring, but you can arrange that. Here the idea is to really have the main structure in order to, after you can just record and do the final touch into the arrangement. Okay, then I will keep the filter closed. So actually I'm gonna duplicate this one and nothing's gonna change except I'm gonna add the ride here. So I'm going to note drum. Actually the ride I can add manually because I remember the pattern. It was just like, oh actually it's not this one. It's this one off beat. So that's fine. What about we add our percussion here? So imagine you will have, for example, a low cut, and then that, and then actually here you can start to reopen your lead. Okay, so then we're gonna have a break. So I'm gonna duplicate the perc, duplicate this one, the lead as well, and this. In terms of drums, actually it's gonna be the same, and I just need to remove. Let me actually select it and go there, and to remove the kick and the tom. So this way now. Okay, and then we drop again. So I'm just gonna duplicate this one. Here I need to bring back the kick, the toms as well. I think it was like this. And I need to bring back obviously the bass. But actually the drum, you know what? I need actually to bring the first original one because I want to have the full on drum. So I'm gonna duplicate this one here. So we go from this was low, then after we're gonna duplicate. Okay, I was just thinking maybe we can do something different with the drum as well. Then we will have our final break with again everything. I will bring down the lead, the filter, And the drum, I'm just gonna, this is gonna be the break, so I'm gonna need to get rid of the kick drum, get rid of the tom, get rid of the ride of this one as well. Up, go back to session. The break, so as usual, I start to get rid of the bass and I remove the ride and the perc. That's what I've done. Then obviously the leads you're gonna filter down slowly, and after it's basically the outro, so you didn't miss that much. It wasn't that the most exciting. Then you just gradually start to get rid of elements. You can see here you still have the perc. Then I get rid of perc 2 and I get rid of the open hat, which is supposed to be there. And then again, I get rid of the perc 3 and I get rid in the drum of the close hi-hat. You can see it's not anymore present, so it's just the kick and the tom. So you miss all that, but it's not the most exciting part anyways. It was just the outro. And yeah, basically you got your global arrangement. Obviously there is still a lot of work, but at least you got something that you can follow. Now my next step would be to just record it in arrangement view and adding more variation on the leads. On the drums, maybe you can add some variation, like some fill-in at the end of some bars. What I will probably do as well is to add some LFO on different parameters depending on the track. Just slow LFO who makes slicing things move, slicing things more interesting. It can be something subtle, for example, here on the perc 2, if you remember, it was that. And you could just, I have an auto filter, I could just add a bit of LFO. No big deal, but you would slightly change the filter slowly and you always have something evolving and different. So that's one thing I would do. Maybe during the break I will send some of the track to a return track with a kind of washout effect as well. Some of the break maybe I will not remove the bass and the tom and the kick. I will just like put a low cut. That's the kind of things you can do. But yeah, you got 90% of the track already there. And yeah, I hope you like this video, guys. It was quite a long one, but I hope you enjoy it. And see you soon, guys. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.